Next, we're going to look at the options you have for drawing with the tool sets here on the left. So you have your vector tools where you can use, so you have your marquee tools where you have access to a rectangular, magnetic, and elliptic marquee tool. And you have these tools called lasso tool, and polygonal lasso tool. We'll be looking at those first. Next, we'll be looking at the vector shape tools, which we've already worked with in our last project. And then the third drawing tool will be this pen tool that's very specific to making shapes and forms using the pen tool that is available in Adobe Illustrator. I have set this up so I've put different layers for each set of tools. So we'll start with your marquee tools here. Basically, these are raster-based tools, so whatever you draw, you'll get these marching ants, and you can fill in the space inside of whatever shape it is. So you hold down your Option key, then the shape comes from the middle of the shape itself. Otherwise, it drags from the left to the right. So these are shapes that you can actually build, and these are building blocks for you to fill in with colors. So I'm going to come here to my swatch library, and I've already selected my colors here. So I'm going to click on this blue, and you can see in my foreground color right here, I can fill this. I can go under. I'm going to make sure I'm on you have to make sure you're on your layer, and then I can come in here and fill it with a shortcut to that, which I really recommend, is using the keyboard shortcuts. So if I make a box, I can do Option Delete and Control Delete on a PC, and this will give me my foreground color so I don't have to go up into this menu. The next set of tools are the lasso tools. This is a free drawing tool, so you can just drag it around. The important thing is that you have to connect the two final points in order to get a selection. Once you have a selection, you can fill it by selecting your color in your swatches here or in your library as well, and then Option Delete will fill your that selection. So that gives this actually is a pretty powerful tool in the way that you can build different kinds of shapes. If you hold your Shift key down, you can add to it. So holding your Shift key down gives you the opportunity to really not just make one shape, but multiple shapes. If you hold your Option key down, you can see it's a minus, and you can take away as well. So if you're tracing something, an image or a reference material, this is a nice way to actually trace it. And then I can fill it again with my color. If I want to pick orange, and Option Delete will fill that. So the next tool I want to talk about is the polygonal tool. This tool allows you to draw straight lines to create a shape. So you can just click your mouse wherever you want that point to go, and you have to complete the shape by connecting the two edges. Once you have that, then you have your marching dances, and then you can fill that shape. So these are my shapes that I can create with these lasso tools and the rectangular marquee tool and the ellipse tool. Next set of shapes I want to focus on are the vector shapes. The vector shapes allow you to increase or reduce them, and they will not lose any quality. So they're not raster based, they're vector based, and this is really specific to Adobe Illustrator. So if I come down here and select my box, a rectangle, polygon, but we're really going to focus on working with the rectangle and the round tool. And so once I draw this, it immediately becomes a color, and you can see it's a vector shape tool by this little square here. I can Command T and have the transform tools available to me, as well as up here. I can distort them and do whatever I want to them. So this gives you the opportunity to build shapes in kind of a really quick way. The last one I want to talk about is your pen tool. And so your pen tool is down here, and this is a drawing tool based on vector points as well. Grab my pen tool, and you want to make sure it's on pen tool. And if I click from point to point and drag, I can create these kind of curvy shapes based on these two handles and an anchor point. So I can create a shape in this way if I'm tracing something, and eventually I want to change this into a selection. So to do that, you won't be able to fill this unless it's a selection. So to do that, you have to go under Paths and then find this little circle here, and then it'll turn it into a selection. If you do a lot of selections, you want to make sure that you keep them. You can go under Select, Save Selection, and then you can name this pen tool. If I come back and I want to bring that back up, I can then go to Select, Load Selection, and find my pen tool, and then it'll bring it back up. And then I can fill it with whatever color I want by doing Option Delete. I want to make sure that you are, put this on the new layer. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can add a gradient. So gradients there's two ways to work with gradients. One is this gradient tool right here. So if I want to add this a gradient color here, I'm going to come up, click on my gradient tool, and then in the option menu on the top. So I'm going to click here, and I can set colors here. I can just take them and drag them. These two little squares indicate where one color is going to go and where the other color is going to go for your gradient, or you can add additional ones as well by just clicking on them. I'm not going to use that. So I'm going to add a gradient, and I'm going to create maybe this dark purple, and then this is going to go to a blue. Once I do that, I'm going to click OK, and then I can just see that I have this kind of like this crosshair, and I can take it and drag it across my selection, and it'll fill it. So depending on how much of the darkness I want to come in or in what direction, I can just kind of experiment with that. Up here, you can set it as your gradient is a linear, coming from top to bottom or left to right. This is a circular gradient, so you would start in the middle and go out. Create a new, and you can name it Bouncy Ball 1 or just Bouncy Ball 1. And then it'll show up in your gradient pattern here. Okay. Okay, so you can see it's just my shape itself. I can move it around, and I can always come back and change it if I want. If I click here, Command, and click on the icon, I can just come back and change it if I want to change the color. So you can always work with that. Gradient here. And I'm going to work with one of these preset gradients. So I'm going to make it like an orangish. You can see once I do that, what happens is it creates kind of an overall color, and then it masks this shape. So I can move it around, and this is definitely an easier way to work, but you don't have as much control on it. You can work with it in a linear fashion in this way and set your angles if you want to. So you can kind of work with that as well if that feels easier to you. And then that will be your shape. You can click off. So that's a way to work with gradients, colors, and shapes to build your overall background if you want.